Hi, welcome. So, I'm doing a lot today as I get this channel up and running, my Patreon up and running. I am wearing the same t-shirt in so many different videos. That's okay. I don't want to be changing shirts all the time. I already do enough laundry as a massage therapist. My whole life is laundry. So, anyway, thank you for being here. And I would like to try out some kind of categories that progress through the week. We'll just see how that goes, see if it feels good when we're through maybe 1 or 2 weeks. So for right now, I would like to set an intention to do a reading for the week ahead. So here we are at Sunday afternoon. I feel like it's a good quiet time of the weekend to start to wrap up the weekend and head into the week and kind of ground ourselves in the energies that might be coming. I don't use tarot as a way to predict the future. It's really a way to tap into what in our lives do we want to shine a light on. And we know. It's intuitive. The cards are just a way to help illuminate what we already know in our deepest selves. So Spirit does guide us in that. Whatever your beliefs are, intuition, spirit, whatever you want to call it, we're tapping into that for our greatest and highest good so that we can try to align and stay grounded through the week. So with the week ahead, I'm going to start with just a basic tarot deck, and I really do like lighting a candle, so let's see if I can get it lit. I really do need to invest in a new box. This has no more strike. There we go, left. Thank you. All right, it's a broken one. So we'll use my basic kind of classical deck to start. I just really love this deck. I just really do. It's probably the one I feel the most connected to because it was my very first one. And then I went a little off the rails, buying a lot of different decks to see what the different energies were that kind of comes out of them. So as we set the intention for the week ahead, there will be other readings throughout the week, but let's really tap into kind of what the story arc of the week looks like. What are some things we should be aware of as we move through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and into the coming weekend. We're coming out of Christmas and going into New Year, so that's exciting too. I'll probably do a specific New Year reading the year ahead. But for now, let's just see how do we want to kind of finish out the week and kind of bridge into the new year. Thank you. One more. I don't even know how many cards I'm going to draw. Well, look at this. Wow. Let's see, maybe we'll do one for each of the weekdays. And maybe one just for a general, like, hey, what's the weekend ahead maybe look like? You see that? And then maybe the overall energy for the week. Ooh, look at that. A lot of major arcana here, most of them actually. Seems like a big week. Maybe there's a lot on our mind as we wrap up the end of the year, 2024. So I love to go back to my books, but in the interest of time, we're just going to do it intuitively. I shouldn't be drinking coffee on a Sunday afternoon when I've not gotten a lot of sleep as it is, but who cares? Okay, so overall energy is justice. The way I'm seeing this right now for this particular week, the feeling I'm getting is balance. Have we been thinking a lot about balance as we come to the end of the year? This figure interests me because I'm not entirely sure if there's a gender here, if it's male, female, king, queen. it's so interesting. It's like it's like the perfect balance between so many different elements. They are seated firmly. They look very grounded, which is good. Like we talked about grounding into the present moment, seeing with clarity. There's a sword here just firmly held. So it's like we're seeing clearly. The scales are actually balanced equally. I have another visitor here. And it's like this feels like a good solid energy for an overall reading this week. Who knows where this will take us, but we're starting out from a very grounded place. Okay, so for Monday, I'm just going to read these like the days of the week and then the weekend. So for Monday, we have the Two of Wands. This card I really like for Monday. This is, look at this. It's like they're not looking directly at us. They're looking out. Like they have the world, and they have maybe one hand firmly planted on a wand, which could be, wands are fire element, but I'm not reading a lot of fire here. There's a lot of water in the background. There's the world. It's like they have the world in their hand. What are they going to do with it? This looks like a very grounded card as well. And they're contemplating maybe what's coming. It might also be, sometimes I think of when you look left, it's like looking backward in time. So maybe this is an end of the year kind of a reading. It's like, what have I done with this? What have I done with my life this year on this earth? It's so interesting. It's a time of reflection when you can't see the face and they're kind of looking off. They seem to be reflecting some of the characters in these cards. And it's like there's choice here. Usually a two is like maybe a choice between two things. Again, balance. Usually twos are balance related. And there's two wands. One, there's a hand on, like, this is the direction I think I want to go. I have this other one that's standing kind of straight up as well. It's a solid option. But really, no matter what I choose, my intention is what's for the greater good of the world, but like my world, start local. And so it's like it's a great reflection for the end of the year. What have I done this year to support me going forward? Because in this hand, I have so much option, so much choice, so much opportunity. Wands bring a lot of opportunity. Wands are also passion, kind of that energy of fire. So it's like I'm standing here still, contemplating the world and myself and my place in it. How do I want to move forward through the world? I feel like 2025 is a pretty pivotal year in a lot of ways. We went through a lot this year. What are we going to do next year? You can actually think about a lot here in the next few days into the new year. A lot. Just go inward, go into the quiet, and think and feel into that. We'll clarify some of these. We'll see how deep we want to go in this before going into an extended, because I imagine when we're contemplating our place in the world and in a whole entire year and where we're going next year, that could be a big reading. So Tuesday, the Chariot. Feels like some momentum building into Tuesday. There's like traditionally this inspired action. And once you make a choice, there's some momentum that will build. I see this as a very positive energy right now. Tuesday, so tomorrow's the 30th, and then Tuesday would be the 31st. So this is New Year's Eve. It's like they're all decked out in their chariot, ready to take off into the new year. Inspired. It's like between now and Tuesday, what do we want to manifest and bring in for the new year? We're inspired, and we're going to have some momentum behind us, fueling us. Ooh, I got chills. That's going to be good. The Hierophant Wednesday, that is the new year, which is very interesting. Oftentimes, this idea of the new year brings the sense of tradition, like maybe making resolutions. There's a lot of tradition here, and like maybe proclaiming in front of everyone, like, this is what I'm gonna do. I think this is guarding us. Like, we don't need to announce to the world what we're gonna do. We could just do it and just be. And I feel like we've been sold this story of like, accountability. Tell someone your plans. Tell them you're going to the gym every day, and that'll make you do it. And it's like, no, I think that builds up a kind of resistance, and then it builds a kind of guilt, when we tell people what our plans are, because we do get motivated, we do get inspired. And a lot of times that'll just, if we feel like we even fail a little bit, like we've just, oh man, it's all a mess now. I missed one day of something, of my commitment. And I've already told all these people, and then we take on sort of a guilt, or our self-worth just sort of chips away at it. We don't need to do that. Is anybody else looking at us to hold us accountable anyway when we tell them? No, they're thinking about their own things. There are very few people who would care as much as we do about our commitments. So, I think this is calling us to say, just slow your roll on being very traditional and putting a lot of structure and dogma and doctrine around whatever we are inspired to do, and just let that inspiration fuel us to just heads down do it. We don't need to talk about it. You can talk it away, as they say. Like, when we talk about it, just it's all gone. The fire was swept off in the words instead of the action. So the next one, the High Priestess, it's so interesting. We have a lot of the early arcana here. 3, 2, 3, 5. Another 2 here, another 2. But the High Priestess is so full of intuition. So as we go into the first and the second, I think this is the second on Thursday. Interesting, the number 2. This is where we've slowed down and said, we're not going to jump to proclaim anything. We're going inward. We're going to go into our intuition. We're going to go inward and feel into, what are we doing into the new year? There's some things we've been wanting to look at. There's some shadow work. I see the light and the dark, the shadow element here. And this figure, the High Priestess, is so full of intuition. And look at all the pomegranates there. I think traditionally that's also a sign of intuition. And fertility, like the birthing of something new. And look at the crescent moon, intuition. This is really calling us to go inward. This is a journey with ourselves. The other people will still be there in our lives, even if we don't tell them all our plans. They have their own to worry about. And then Friday, I see the 3 of Pentacles. This is a solid beginning. Usually Pentacles, like traditionally, maybe means in the financial realm, but definitely like they are of the earth element. So this is like a solid start to something new we want to manifest in our lives or build. And I love this card. To me, depending on the reading, speaks in a lot of different ways. This figure, I see you as the figure that stepped up onto the bench there. It looks like they're, it's like they are, 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 it's And these figures seem to have like a blueprint, perhaps, and we're the skilled worker manifesting the design. Ooh, that's interesting, because if we go back to what was coming through for just kind of like pushing pause on telling people our plans, this is a reminder maybe that when we do that, other people are like, here, remember you said you were going to do this. And, you know, if you're looking for that kind of motivation in your life, yeah, take it. But it might be another call to say, this is a solo journey. You, in your apron and your tools, you're fully skilled to do this, to manifest what you want in your life. No matter if you tell other people or not, they're just there watching. They're not even doing their own thing here. They're just watching. Does that support you in some way? It looks like you already feel supported. You're already up on this bench. You look supported. And you're finding your way. This is like a solid structure. 3 is like harmony also. So maybe you're bringing together some things that have been kind of trying to grow this year, and you're bringing it all together into the new year. And that's maybe going to be on your mind this coming Friday, the 3rd. That's my mom's birthday, by the way. And then going into the weekend, we have the Empress, which is just like full on intuition and beauty and receptivity. It's just so beautiful. This feeling of maybe stepping into your power in a very like knowing way. There's so much water here for intuition. It's like, it's almost like she now feels so confident in herself. There's no pretending, like, look, I am who I am. Full on in alignment. And that seems to be going into the weekend. And again, this is all about balance for the overall energy. It's like a forward and backward looking here. Where have I been? Where do I want to go? I have ideas. I have options. We get some inspiration. We have momentum at our back when we're ready to take that leap. We're being called to go inward and use our intuition. This is a solo journey, and we know ourselves the best. We know the path forward. We just need to take time to look and listen inward. And we have all the tools necessary to make that happen. To manifest exactly what we want in our life through our deep knowing, our alignment, our intuition. So if that is a full story arc as we move into the new year, I really want to pull this Archetypes card to really anchor in the overall energy of the week, because there's some theme, something that we should keep in mind, keep in our hearts as we move through the week, moving through this story of closing out the year, bringing in the new year in a really grounded way, grounded in ourselves, grounded in our own sense of knowing where we've been and where we're headed. With intention. I think what this is really pointing to is intention. We have the skills, now we need the intention. The self. Interesting. Aha. Okay. So the self is 29. Again with the Roman numerals. Oh, here it is. The soul, the witness, the watcher. Here, I'll just leave that there. Looks like you can see it. The self is the prism that allows the spectrum of our personalities to radiate. It does not judge, prohibit, suppress, or oppress any of its parts, as it lovingly knows that all aspects have a time and a place and leads us to experience the full breadth of life's offerings. The self is the central abiding container, the awareness of the infinite universe of possibilities. When this card appears, it's a call to step back in to witness consciousness, to observe yourself navigating the world. I just got chills. Ask yourself, am I the stew or am I the chef? In most situations, our ego draws us into the cauldron where we swirl, spin, and smolder in chaos. Yet the self is a graceful culinary dancer, watching, waiting, observing as the spectrum of ingredients become the flavor of our life. Look in the mirror for 30 seconds or more. Attempt to see the you behind the you. Wow. Are you the stew or are you the chef? Are you letting life stir you up? Or are you the chef manifesting what's going to nourish you and support you? Oh, I love that. I got so many chills. When light, witnessing, accepting new aspects of self. When dark, meaning like if we're not looking at this, then it's disjointed, fatigue, diffused energy and purpose. Go deeper. Watch Robert Bly read Kabir's poem, This Clay Jug. It's no surprise that two central mantras in the yoga tradition concern themselves with the self. Experiment with Soham, I am that, and Sat Nam, true identity. If this card is perplexing for you, you are on the right track. It challenges us to expand our sense of identity beyond the little self, and the ego resists such movement. The ego really does want to keep us in the stew. It really does. We need to step out and be the chef. I really love this because it, again, is a call to go inward. And look at all these colors. It's like we can manifest from here, from our heart center. If we're stuck up here, like that's just swirling in the tasks, the to-do list, the telling people, I'm going to do this, 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 this. And then we burn up our motivation through words. So that is beautiful. What I'd like to do is pull another overall card. I'm going to try not to make this too long, but I think instead of clarifying each and everything, let's just get some overall energies and then we'll do an extended. Please and thank you. Help us clarify the overall arc of the week. Oh, sadness. This is the one that wanted to come out, though. Intrusion. Ooh. Let me take a quick peek at these to see if they even resonate. Let's look at intrusion first, because I've read sadness before, and I'm not sure. I'll read it because it came out for a reason. And maybe there's somebody this is meant for. But let's read intrusion first, because look at the outside world kind of coming into us. And this is the card that when I first flipped it was the one that was going to flip, and this one was just happened to be on the outer art. It's called Violated. Let me show you that. It's kind of intense. Woo. I recognize what makes me uncomfortable. I know my boundaries and I define what feels right for myself. Yeah, we do. Shielding the body, shielding the energy, invasion and intrusion looming, hands reaching, desiring, seeking, wanting, creeping inward, unwelcomed, unwanted, uninvited, grasping. It is too much. Stop. No. From thoughts, invitations, advances, words, phrases, touch, there are many ways that our body, space, heart, privacy, or energy can be or feel invaded, intruded, or encroached upon. Only we get to decide what feels invasive or intrusive. There can be times when we have trained ourselves to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, or that something isn't that big of a deal, so we should just let it slide because it should not bother us. Something doesn't need to be a malicious or vicious act for it to feel violating. It is important to honor the parts of ourselves that have been violated or have felt intrusion, no matter how big or small the experience. Guilt, shame, self-blame, and a dissonance within our bodies, our own bodies, can build from these experiences. We need to hold and process those stories and feelings outside of times when our control has been physically taken from us. We can set boundaries and redefine for ourselves what we will accept. Think about ways in which you can safely share about experiences you've had that may have felt intrusive, violating, harmful, or invasive. How can you honor and validate your own feelings? If there is an ongoing feeling of intrusion, what boundaries can you set? How can you speak up? How can you change the situation, and what support do you need? Contemplations. How can I acknowledge times choice was taken from me? Here's choice. What can I do to redefine what feels right for my body? What boundaries can I set to lessen certain intrusions? Then there's some ritual here to help cleanse in the shower. It's called shower clearing. So that's interesting. I take that. Yeah, I'm going to put this one back because I read that before, and I don't think that was intended for us. Like I said, this is the one that popped out. So intrusion, that's interesting, considering we're talking about kind of ignoring or pushing pause on the outside world for a moment to go inward and really sense into our intuition. Where have we let our boundaries be a little too fluid, where we let that intrusion in? Where in our lives have we felt the intrusion? This could go really deep, like asking us to look way back at those wounds. But since it's a weekly, like the week ahead reading, we probably don't want to go there until the extended. So what I'd like to do, I do want to do a little clarification though. This all seems pretty clear to me. I don't know why, but these really cute cat tarot cards that my husband got me for Christmas are calling to me. Probably because I haven't used them much and they feel so good. So Spirit, instead of clarifying each and every day, because I feel like this'll, as we move through the week, it does feel like we're contemplating. I feel like that was a very solid reading for the arc of the week. So if we could clarify, let's just pull a few cards that help us clarify again maybe the overall arc of the week. And then these can remain the details. Thank you. We have Death, King of Wands, Queen of Wands. Wow, interesting. Death. This is so cool for this week's reading. As in, death is a time of transformation, a time of closing out or bringing closure or completion to a cycle. Well, one of our greatest cycles in life is the yearly cycle. Really, we think about it so much this time of year. Like, wow, what a year. There's something that's wanting us, like if we read a little bit more into this, it's not just the year. It's like there's something wanting to be put to rest this year. And I think we're really being called to look at it on Monday. So if you have some quiet time on Monday, go inward and really think about. The word triggers came to mind, like, are there some things this year, and maybe just pick one, maybe the biggest thing, or the one that's just coming immediately to mind. Is there something that was really like eating at you a lot throughout the year, or like would activate your nervous system or trigger you? That really just came to me. The looking at something, a trigger that wants to be put to rest, that you don't want to be activated by this anymore, and no amount of thinking is going to make that activation stop happening. It's not a mind It's not of the mind. It's really feeling in through your intuition. Like, it's like if you treat everyone as a mirror, that concept of like whatever's triggering you, if it's coming from another person, like it's some aspect within you that you see reflecting in them. And it's really activating for you. So if you think about the people in your life who maybe just just got you activated whenever you would come into contact with them, take a look at, could there be something in you to look at instead of looking outward at them, saying, oh, it's all about them. What is it about us? Because we all have something. What is it that wants to be illuminated within, so that we can look at it honestly and say, yeah, I don't want this to have the grip on me that it's had. And usually that means some shadow work. Sometimes it means going into our past. And sometimes there's some pretty painful things we need to look at, especially when the death card comes. Death card isn't all bad. It's just really saying, it's just a really on it, like a really big message to say, like a lot of minor arcana will have similar vibes, but this is major arcana. This is like, don't close out this year without at least being honest with yourself about something that's been kind of eating at you. And you know what? To go through it is all for the better. Next year, you just may not have to take that forward into the new year. Just let it, poor kitty, let it die there. Aw. And then the King and Queen of Wands. So the King of Wands is all fire, all fire. Oh my gosh. And that reminds me of triggers. It's like, look at his eyes. He's just like, he knows better than to speak. He's just letting the fire burn up within him here. And he's kind of taking it out on this rug. Look at that. And the salamander, sometimes that means protection. Maybe this is overly defensive energy. And just just I'm burning up about this. There's some trigger there that needs to be really addressed. And we need to balance that fire, that balance. And maybe it has to do with a boundary. Maybe it feels like your boundaries are just being crossed time and again. Well, do we know what our boundaries are? Have we voiced them? Do we just expect people to know what they are? By the look in, the death stare. People can't read our minds. They can read our vibes, and this vibe is very all fire. Wands and King, fire. Now the Queen of Wands is water and fire, which is pretty balanced. And the Queen of Wands also has the deep intuition. I think I read somewhere this card, it's considered the witch of the tarot deck, meaning alchemy, manifestation. There's an inner strength through her intuition. And so this is calling for that balance, and knowing that when we look at this and really think about where we could improve our boundaries and improve voicing our boundaries, having people respect our boundaries. This is saying we have the inner strength to be perfectly comfortable setting and affirming and voicing our boundaries. Because look, she's so serene. She's like, I'm not triggered by anything. I was called to look at something. I'm going to look at something that fires me up, and I'm going to come out fully at peace. Balanced with fire and water. I love the fire water symbolism because it's too much of either and it's no good. Water, too much of it will put out fire. It'll squash that creative impulse. It'll squash the fire of passion and just our motivation, too much water, too much feeling, too much using your intuition instead of your head. I mean, there's balance called for in all of this. And then too much fire with water turns water to steam, evaporates it. Just whoosh. So it's like fire and water with this balance is really important. And sometimes we put up too big of a boundary, like think of like a big firewall is like too big of a boundary. And then too much water, too much fluid nature in our boundaries, and then people are just flowing right into us, and we're flowing right out into everybody else. And it's like, where do I begin and where do I end? I feel like this balance, boundaries, knowing ourself, going inward. I think this is a huge thing for the end of the year. And we think about I don't know much about astrology. I'm starting to learn, but this whole Pluto and Aquarius thing, this long 20-year cycle that we're going into, that really I think roots in at the beginning of the year or first quarter, is like a new rebirth. Like we're really being called to end some old dysfunction. You know, we're tired of it. Like no matter where you even fall on the political spectrum, like, can we just bring in some newness already? Like, these old stories just need to go by the wayside. They haven't served us. Maybe they did a long, long time ago, but not anymore. So, I think that's where we're going to stop for now. There's a lot here. If by taking the time for the end of year and really feeling into where our boundaries might need to be adjusted or brought into balance. And then really feel into, like, practice voicing a boundary. Something simple with a loved one. Like, just try it out. Once you try it, you'll realize that's not so scary. And I feel like so in my power. I brought a sense of balance back. I love the saying that you can't think yourself into a new way of acting. You can only act yourself into a new way of thinking. And that's what I mean by practice. When you put something into practice, that's what really changes your mind. You're like, whoa, that actually worked, and I feel amazing. But to try to think, it's like the engine is like think, doesn't move you into that inspired action and to gain that momentum. You're just kind of stuck in the grinding of the wheels, like never knowing, like, thoughts are not real. They're not real. So how could we ever embody what comes of thoughts? Has to come from action. So, all right. Well, I hope that resonated with some of you. And if so, there will be a link to the extended on my Patreon. And so, yeah, just comment, leave a comment, see if anything, resonated, or if you would have read this a different way. You know, I haven't been doing this forever, and I just love learning. I'm just feeling into this and, seeing my way through it. So if you have a different interpretation, I would love to hear it. Okay, well, have a good end of the week, or start of the week and end of the year and beginning of the new year. There's a big transition this week, and I wish you all the best. Seeing your way through it. Thank you.